or one of the other Dallas shows, your voice was getting ready to go out, and apparently it's Turnabout is fair play. So yeah, I'm done.
Oh, your voice is waning.
It's cracked, man. It's bad, but it's fine. But the good thing is that leaves more room for questions from the audience. You don't want to hear from me the entire time.
No, push it. Come on.
Okay, fine. Just wrapped season 3 of The Last Ship on TNT. Great job as always. All right, this is going to be a little spoiler heavy, so if you've got it accumulated on your DVR, I'm sorry. But I want to talk a little bit about the prison camp sequences. Because I'll be honest with you, I didn't know if your character was going to survive that experience or not. And it's one of those things where, we haven't actually had a chance to see you. We've seen some of your castmates lose their lives along the way. Thank you, Joss. But when you're looking down at the script, are you following the whole thing where you look at the last page? Am I still alive? Okay, yes.
Every actor does that. Yeah, it's a very deadly show. Very deadly virus, very deadly enemies, and we were really excited to get off the ship and do something a little different, being in a little prison camp. When they were talking about it in season 2, at the end of season 2, what are we going to do, make something fresh? One of the conversations came up about The Great Escape and how cool a prison camp movie like that was, but we wanted to make it more dangerous, so they came up with vampirates. Now the storyline is trying to figure out why exactly they need our blood if we distributed the cure. And the next couple episodes unwind why that is. I'm not at liberty to talk too much about spoilers.
Of course. But at least we know it gets resolved because TNT has picked it up for season 4. So we get more down the storyline.
Yeah, there will be season 4, and as far as I know, I survived. So.
When do you go back into production for it?
Traditionally, we've been starting up in October, mid to late third week in October. So we finish in generally April. So there's May, June, July, August, like 5 months off. 2 months of that is just sort of going, oh my God, I need a rest, and then back in the gym and whatever ails you, playing with the kids, reacquainting yourself with your wife. That's kind of what we do, and then gear back up again.
Your shoot week winds up being shorter when you're splitting time narratively with the rest of the cast, where you're on a different location and everything else. You're dealing with a shorter work week. Is it easier or harder for you to work in that fashion? Where you're only 2 days instead of like 6 or 7?
I'm pretty easy. I'm happy to. When the alarm goes off at 4:30, I'm not that happy. But once I'm off and I got my coffee and I'm on the road, oh good, here's a new day and a new adventure to get started with. And ensemble casts are nice for everyone in cast because you will get periods where you have to work real hard, and then you'll get the day off or more, and then you get some rest and relaxation. The real heroes of the show are the crew members who have to get up way earlier than we do, get there, stay there, and carry all sorts of heavy gear. It's a young person's game. A lot of young guys doing that stuff, so building their fortune. But they're well paid. It's just long hours. They have 15, 16-hour days from their door back home. So they're right back at it. So my hat's off to those guys, and love them. It's wonderful when you're on a show, and I've had the pleasure of 3 series, Firefly and Chuck, and this one, where everyone is just great. They're hard workers. They don't whine and moan and show up and do their job. They're prepared most of the time. The techno jargon is sometimes difficult to spit out for everyone, but we get it eventually.
You even had your badges of Techno Babble and Chuck on some pieces or another, where they're making up technology that absolutely does not exist in Spyro.
When they deliver those scripts, it's just like, oh man, this chunk this chunk of just techno babble. Okay. Gonna have to rehearse this. See, it's interesting though, because you really do have, that's the stuff you really have to work on for me anyway. The stuff that's written as just dialogue, banter back and forth between people, that's normal conversational stuff, that's pretty easy, even if there's a lot of it, because it just flows. It's that otherworldly stuff that you're not growing up in. Like I didn't serve in the Navy. I just played one a guy on television. People in my position, they've been doing it for 15 years or more. You know, captains. So that's just second nature. They've been trained up, and it's humbling when we have our technical advisor say, "No, it's actually not that way. It's this way." Cool. Get your finger off the bank switch. Oh, it's
When you were a skinny kid running around with the ensemble cast for DC Cab back in that day, had you had any clue that this would be where your career would take you? Or were you just A, happy to get a paycheck to work, and B, being able to surround yourself with insane people every single day of your work life?
I don't even remember how I got that job. DC Cab. It was just one day I was on the set with Mr. T and the Barbarian Brothers and Bill Maher and a bunch of crazy comedians go, what the hell have I got myself into? I survived this. And, if you go back and watch it, you'll that's a scared Adam Baldwin. Scared Adam Baldwin looks like. Then I had to learn what the hell to do. I had no idea where it would lead. That's the thing about this game, you never know. And whenever I do get hired again, I turn to my wife and I say, "Tricked him again?" She goes, "How did you do it?" I said, "I don't know." No. I think I've been doing it now more than 30, almost 40 years, for crying out loud, and I'm surprised whenever they do say yes. Because there are mostly people in Hollywood who have the power to say no. Everyone has the power to say no. In Hollywood, there are very few people that have the power to say yes. So when you get a yes from even a Joss Whedon, it still has to march up the chain, and there are like marketing folks and studio heads that welcome you into their little conference room for a test, and if they like you that day, you get the job. If they don't, you don't. They have someone they like that's, we're looking for someone shorter. Of course you are. My wife and I had this joke whenever I come back from an audition when we were younger. She'd say, "Did they ask you how tall you are?" And if I said yes, she said, "You didn't get that." It's true. So if you go in and win, you have to try to be as winning as possible. But she did give me some of the best advice I've ever heard for anybody that auditions for things, is if you go in, there really are two emotions that you're dealing with, love and fear, and everything else sort of pivots off of those two. And if you go into a room, whether it's a job interview, audition, which is a job interview, or meeting new folks, party situation, if you walk in on a platform of love, you can hold that, the fear will be held at bay. And because when you go into an audition, you don't want to waste their time, they don't want you to waste their time, they want you to be good. They want to hire people, they want to move on with the process. So if you come in loving the game, loving the players, loving the people, you're ahead of the game. And love your competition too. That was one thing. If you're sitting outside of a high stakes test, for instance, for Firefly or for even Chuck, it was me and a couple guys for my role. It was Zach and a couple guys for his role. And my wife said, just love them. And I'm a golfer, I don't know if anybody who plays competitive games or competitive sports, chess even. You want to beat your opponent when they're playing their best. If you know they played a good game and you still beat them, then you can go, that's a job well done. So I try to approach it that way. Don't always succeed because life intervenes and you get distracted, but you have to focus. And fortunately, I've been focused enough to get this far. So I appreciate you all coming along in my little slipstream. It's been a trip.
It's an entertaining one too. Start throwing up your hand.